What you gotta do? What?
Yo, it's your boy Japanese Tutor. Welcome to another installment of the most popular openings series. It's me, Japanese Tutor, and first and foremost, I do chess, not Japanese. I got a question about that last time, and we're gonna go over some really, really interesting stuff today. That was a dramatic pause. If you didn't catch that, boom. Okay, or maybe you're just lagging. All right, so we're gonna go into the Queen's Gambit decline, and this is the Capablanca's freeing maneuver. Okay, and this was originally tried by Showalter in the 1890s. This concept was popularized by Capablanca throughout the 1920s. If you guys do not know who Capablanca is, he is one of the strongest chess masters who existed many, many generations ago. He was actually known to be one of the strongest in the end games. And I think he was unbeaten for a few years. Nobody beat him. Okay, so let's get right into it. Let's see what this freeing maneuver is. So d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, knight f6, bishop g5, bishop e7, e3, castles, knight f3, knight b d7, rook c1, c6, bishop d3. Black has less territory than his opponent. By continuing with d captures c4, bishop catches c4, knight d5, Black makes use of the rule stating that a cramped player should free his pieces and his position by seeking exchanges. Looking for exchanges here, looking for exchanges here. The second player makes considerable spatial gains after bishop captures e7, queen captures e7, castles, knight captures c3, rook captures c3, e5, d captures e5, knight captures e5, knight captures e5, queen captures e5. And they're saying that it's a really good game for both, but Black can gain some moves, and this is how you should. This is Capablanca's freeing move. So let's go over it one more time. So the main idea is that once they take it, this is actually a common idea now, that once they do take, then you can play a knight here. And sometimes even after castles, you can even play b6. That's a line here. But I do like the recommended line because it's very forcing. Even if they don't take, let's say they play queen c2, we can gain some space in the center. Okay, next we're going to go over a different defense. It's called the Queen's Indian defense. Thank you so much for the compliment, mate. Okay, let's go back. So the Queen's Indian defense. Quieter than the Nimzo Indian, White avoids any pins by bishop b4 and instead calmly develops his kingside pieces. So it's d4, and we're going to look at it for Black since it is a defense. Knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3. However, where knight c3 fights for control of the e4 square, let's go back. This square right here. Knight f3 allows Black to grab hold of it by b6. So if they play knight f3, they play b6. When we arrive at the starting position of the Queen's Indian defense. After White plays g3, Black has a choice between two popular lines. Bishop a6. Black plays the combative bishop a6, creating an immediate attack against the c4 pawn. This odd-looking move begins a quick fight and forces white to defend the c4 in some uncomfortable manner. Knight bd2 takes the knight away from its most effective square on c3, so you have to go here to defend. Or you can play b3, which weakens this square for us, and maybe checks like this can come down. After white guards his pawn, black can continue his developing, or he can stir up more complications with central strikes such as c5 or d7, d5. In some cases, the strange b6, b5 might be considered. It's actually very interesting. In this position, let's say that after queen c2, I like to play c5, the immediate c5, and kind of place my pieces on this pawn if possible. This is like a sample line. Maybe even rook c8 here. Like knight a5, knight captures d4 is also an option. So very, very good maneuvers. And hey, string dog, welcome. Yeah, this is the Queen's Indian defense. White in general wants to complete his development after defending c4. b3 is the most popular method of doing this with bishop g2 and castles. So let's go back. So bam, bam. So instead of queen c2 on move 5, you can play b3. Followed by bishop g2. Oh, sorry. Followed by bishop g2 castles. In this case, the absence of the black's light square bishop on this diagonal might be felt, and white's spatial plus in the center might also become a factor. The other way to play this is to play bishop b7. In this line, white will usually get some advantage if he can take control of the e4 square. So it's a fight for the e4 square. And eventually advance his e-pawn to this square. This can be done after bishop g2 and castles. By continuing with queen c2 and knight c3, also eyeing this e4 pawn. And with the bishop here, indirectly controls that square, and you want to put a pawn there eventually. Eventually, not now. White can also close in black's b7 bishop by d4, d5 with a considerable spatial edge. Black will fight these evil white plans with knight e4. In some cases, f5. So they're saying that you should play like bishop b7 castles. You can play knight e4 at some points and then f5. And it kind of looks like a stonewall that we've covered with the bishop here. And careful play will usually allow black to secure eventual equality. It should be added that g3. So let's go back. Instead of g3, you can try the Percheron system, which is really interesting. This move takes away the b4 square from black's bishop and prepares for knight c3 when the knight can safely eye d5 and e4 because the bishop can no longer come over here. And actually, this has seen some success for a while. It's maybe been about 10 years, maybe even more, maybe 15 years that this line has been popular, or people have really investigated it. Black has a few choices here, and it is not clear which one is best. Though bishop a6 and c5 are interesting, the most common is bishop b7 and knight c3, where when white's set of d4, d5 is met best right now by d5. C captures d5. Now you can capture on e captures d5, and it kind of gives them really, really nice grip of this square. We have 3 pieces on it. And however, the fact that the c7 pawn stands on an open file and therefore potentially weak means that eventually black will have to play c7, c5. And white can take on c5 and create another hanging pawn situation. Or you can take on d5 with the knight. Knight capture, it leads to a battle where one side grabs the center with pawns thinking that it will gain space and eventually crush the opponent, while the other side tries to show that this center would be a target. So let's say like queen c2, bishop e7, e4, oops, knight captures, c captures. It's a tough one. White will guard his center pawns with his pieces and use them to restrain the enemy forces. Black will attack these pawns after castling. c7, c5. And knight c6 in an effort to show the negative side. Both sides have chances and the struggle will be a dynamic one. Okay. So I was so to be honest, because if I miss some of your streams, I will watch this. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you for subbing. All right. So now we're going to go over the ready opening. If you guys don't know who the ready is, well, you better be ready to find out. Ready. The opening is often used as a transpositional device, with white trying to lure his opponent into lines that he may not be familiar with. So let's go. Thank you so much for following, brother. I really appreciate that. And our bicycle. All right. So let's go over this. The first point of and let's go over the white pieces. Knight f3 is to stop black from playing e75, which is the major reply against c4. So knight f3, c5, c4, and black is in a symmetrical English without having the option of the e75 system. In general, the actual ready opening centers around white playing knight f3, followed by c2, c4, g2, g3, and b2, b3 might also be thrown in. A typical line goes as follows. f3, d5, c4, c6, b3, knight f6, bishop b2, bishop f5, and g3, with bishop g2 to come. Ready's idea was to control key central squares with pieces rather than pawns. In the diagram that we have right here in front of us, we will see that white's knight and b2 bishop control the d4 and e5 squares, while the c4 pawn mixed with the bishop that is moving to g2 will eye the d5 square. White's position is very flexible, and after bishop g2 and castles, white can place his d pawn on d4 and try for a spatial plus. Or you can play more in the spirit of ready. You can play d2, d3, followed by knight b d2, a3, and expand on the queen side. Maybe like that. Maybe here, 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 and then expand on the queen side. Black's plan can include queenside expansion with b7, b5, or a center advance by d6 followed by e6, e5. Very interesting. Okay. Okay, so, and again, I say this every video, but this is not a cure-all or a repertoire stream. This is an ideas class, if you will. Get the ideas from this and then find something that you like to play and research it on your own. Oli Pals, thank you so much for the bits, brother. I really appreciate it. All right, and we're also going to go over one more opening and then we're done for today. No problem, Tyler Green. Let's go into this. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. White places pressure on c6, and yeah, I think all beginner players know this and play this. In general, black will play for a strong point on e5. This means that black will guard his e5 pawn with his knight and his d pawn with its h8 rook. So maybe come over here. In some lines, this pawn can be given additional support by knight g8, f6, d7. So knight g8, f6, d7, and coming to e5 to support it, or bishop f8 to e7 to f6 are different plans. Black guarantees that he will retain a certain part of the center for himself, and he will only capture a white pawn on d4 with his e-pawn if he can avoid losing too much central influence. Though black has many developmental schemes to try to choose from. The most highly respected is a closed defense, a6, bishop a4. Also the exchange variation, which is something I like to play. It just leads to very easy positions, and it's really about who knows it better or who's the better player. D capture c6 is also seen from time to time. And after takes d4, takes, queen takes, queen takes. You have a queenless middle game. White will try to trade off all the pieces and win a king and pawn endgame by means of a superior pawn structure. Black will avoid exchanging too many pieces and try to make use of the power of the two bishops. Okay. And let's see at the key. So let's go back into a6. So a4, knight f6, castles, and bishop e7. The open defense via knight captures e4. On move 5, d4. And then followed by d5 is a favorite for grandmasters Korchnoi, Anand, and Yusupov. In this line, black takes on more structural weaknesses, but also assures himself a greater piece activity than he would normally obtain. Rook e1, b5. And black appears to be gaining time and queenside space with these pawns advances, but the b5 pawn might also end up as a target after an eventual a2, a4 by white. After 150 years, so this opening has been around and been studied for 150 years, it is still not clear who's getting the best of the deal on the queen side. Bishop b3, d6, c3. Maybe sometimes the bishop can go here, and after d4, you have some light over here. Also c3 helps to prepare d4. Castles. and h3. Believe it or not, this move gives d4 more support. The justification for this seemingly outrageous statement is simple. White's knight is a major defender of d4. Justified. By stopping black from pinning it with bishop g4, white retains his knight and also retains control of the d4 square. Knight a5, also known as Gregorian variation. Bishop c2, c5, d4. Queen c7, knight bd2, knight c6. The interesting position has been a common visitor to chess tournaments for nearly a century. Black lays claim to some queenside space and a solid influence in the center. White can choose one of two plans here. White can either choose d5 and gives white central space and allows him to seek play on the queen side or king side. When the center is closed, you must play with your pawns on the wings. This allows you to gain space and create open files for your rook. Queenside play can be started by a2, a4, and b2, b4. Kingside play can be centered around the knight d2 to go into f1, followed by g2, g4, and then knight g3. This center closing strategy is a modern way to play the position and is the reason most players try rook e8 or knight b8 instead of knight a5. Okay, and also the other way they can play is so instead of d5, they can play d capture c5, d capture c5, knight f1. White, and it allows white to try and make use of the potentially weak d5 and f5 squares. Okay, bishop e6, knight e3, rook a d8, and queen e2. White will stuff a knight on f5 and often gain the two bishops as a result. Black will try to create his own support points by c5, c4, and knight f6, d7, c5, and coming in here. This plan used to be a favorite of Bobby Fischer, but it's now thought to be only equal after best play. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for sticking through this. And if you have any questions about it, first, probably just rewatch it. It'll answer some of the questions. If you have any further questions, put it in the comment section down below. I check every single comment, or whisper me on Twitch or my other platforms. Thank you guys so much. And this is Japanese Tutor out.